Good evening, this is BelGeode, and we are back in some more DCS World, and tonight we are in DCS World 2.7. As you can see, we've got brand new clouds to look at, and we are here in the venerable Huey, because it's been a little while since I've shown you the Huey, for our first foray into the Syria map. To be precise, we are just off the coast of Lebanon. So that is going to feature for our little test mission that we're using tonight to do our first look at DCS 2.7. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to hop into the helo. I'll explain the little mission that we're running tonight, and of course, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the brand new DCS update. Okay, so as you can see, we are on an Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate. There is actually another frigate over there where we've got our buddy, Wild Bill, in an AI Huey, and we're actually going to be playing a little game of Follow the Leader. So we're going to be following Wild Bill to Beirut International Airport, and then he's going to do a little patrol. We're going to go up the mountainside. You may notice there's some clouds right on top of that one mountain there. And once we get there, there's going to be a little FARP there where I've set up some members of Voodoo Squad, because the other major thing that I want to test in this is Troop Embark. Troop Embark has been broken for a long time. Supposedly they fixed it. We're going to give it the ultimate test here. We're going to load up 2 groups of Voodoo Squad into our Hueys, and hopefully everything will work. But none of that's going to happen until we get this helicopter started. So let's get that done. First things first, we're going to flip on our radio altimeter here. And of course, we'll get all the lights up because it's me. I love to have all the console and overhead and instrument lights and everything on. I should note that I am using the mouse for this, so this is your typical mouse scroll wheel. I could use the Oculus Rift S touch controller since I am in VR right now. All of these videos are recorded in VR. Or, alternately, I could also use the brand new venerable HOTAS setup that I have. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And actually, let me show you some of the things that I can do with it right now. So, the HOTAS that I'm using is the CM3 for the throttle, and my stick is the Tomcat stick. I think they call it the VFX stick. Both of those came to me compliments of Baltic Dragon, whom you may know from Raven 1. For those of you who have been wondering, yes, I am the voice of Flip Wilson. I am the player character as you're playing through that campaign. So as kind of, I guess, a payment or gift or whatever you want to call it, Baltic Dragon went out and got me a venerable HOTAS setup, which has been on my bucket list for quite some time now. Really didn't have to do it, but huge thank you and shout out to Baltic Dragon for this. This thing is perfect. So let's start utilizing it right now. I've got a switch for the anti-collision lights. We'll flip that on. And if I wanted to, I could even change the position lights from bright to dim, but we'll keep them at bright. And we can set up our position lights. We'll put it to the top position for steady. And of course, our landing lights we will work on in a moment. Let's get our radios on and everything else, and that way we can get this bird started. Now, you may notice that we've got nothing going on right now. That is because we need to have our battery on, which is also on this HOTAS. All right, we got a lot of noise here. I'm sure you can hear that. So let's first get that off. And we will set ourselves up on the frequency for this boat, which is 131.5. You may have just heard something that just said Springfield. That is my indicator, my audio indicator that our AI buddy is currently doing a startup over on that other frigate. So, time's a wasting. All right, what do we have here? Remember to tune FM radio 41 for the homing signal to Beirut Airport. Why we need a homing signal for Beirut Airport is beyond me, but it's part of the things that I'm testing. FARP homing beacon is on 39 FM, your ship frequency 131.5, and TACAN for Tarawa is 1 X-ray. This is a Huey. We don't have TACAN, so we won't be needing that. But we will be needing to get the engine started up. So before we do that, since the Verpal HOTAS is a split throttle, what I've done is I'm using the right side as my collective. That's typically engine 2. Engine 1, of course, is the left side, and I'm only using this little three-way toggle that you see me using to manipulate the actual twist throttle on the collective right now. All right, so that is set. We get that on, we get that on, we get that on. And we'll also turn this to 41 here. We'll turn that on and listen to what we hear. Whoa! Okay, that's a little loud. Let's turn that down. Now, if you're wondering what that is the F-16 theme song. I like putting that in there whenever I set up a little radio beacon. It gives me something to listen to. But if it gets too old, we'll just turn it off. All right, let's get our engine started. So there's a big red button under the right side of this throttle. So we'll hold that down. And once we reach 10 on the gas producer, the rotor should start spinning. There we go. We're waiting for it to get to 40 as always. When it gets to 40, this light on the caution and warning panel will extinguish, and that's when we let go the starter switch. So we're almost there. We're at 30. And there we go. 40. Lights out. Let go switch. Okay, so we've got a good start. We'll get our main inverter on, and then we'll quickly get our radio altimeter set. I'm going to put my low to 100 feet. And I'm just using the mouse scroll wheel for this. It takes a little while for the low. All right, Springfield, we'll catch up with you in a moment here. We're a little behind schedule. The high will set to about 500. There we go. Altimeter, we'll set that real quick, probably about 20 or 30 feet up. And we do need to check our compass and HSI. It says that we should be at about 35, so we'll switch that over. Right about there should be good. And now we can power up, so throttle to full. There we go. We have no weapons on board today, so we won't need that, and we won't need the chaff and flare, so we're not going to worry about any of that stuff. We will, however, get our landing lights on, so let me extend the bulb and flip the switch on, both of which I have bound to the Verpal. There we go. We'll reset our caution and warning, and we'll get our standby gen on, and we are pretty much set to go. We just need to set our position lights to flash. All right, so now we can take off and catch up with Springfield, aka Wild Bill. And you may be wondering how I'm handling the rudder on this, or the anti-torque pedals in a helicopter. There is on the Tomcat stick a little thumb wheel that has a spring-loaded action, so I've pretty much got that set as my rudder pedals right now. So let's lift off. There we go. A little swing to the right there. But we are airborne, and you can see Wild Bill off to that side, so we'll go ahead and catch up with him. I have to say, this Verpal HOTAS is really precise. Except, of course, with the rudder action. Since I don't have any rudder pedals, one thing that I am going to do is I'm pretty much going to order myself some rudder pedals from Verpal sometime in a very, very near future. And that way I can actually use them as intended and free up the little rotary that I have currently working as a rudder. But yeah, this thing is absolutely incredible. For helicopters, it is really precise. My buddy Sergio from helisummer.com did a very recent review, which was actually kind of the tipping point for me to decide on actually getting this thing. So that's why it was a great coincidence and pleasure to find out the Baltic Dragon and actually ordered me one before I had the chance to plop down some money on it. So it was pretty cool. But Sergio, I gotta say it, you were right in your reviews about the Verpil. It is every bit as good as it has been hyped up to be. So if you're thinking about purchasing a HOTAS set and you've been thinking about Verpil, yeah, definitely get it. Definitely get it. I know they are working on a collective set. I believe Sergio was sent the prototype to test out and send them feedback. We don't know when that's going to be ready as of yet, but once we do, I'm sure that will become available, and I'm sure that will also be a really cool thing to pick up. So yeah, big huge shout out to Sergio from helisimmer.com. Your very honest review was well worth it, and I echo everything that you said in that. This is a really awesome HOTAS set. All right, now I also have my force trim set up, so we should be catching up with this guy any moment here. I know I set him for about 91 knots for the flight into Beirut International Airport, which is directly ahead of us. And I do have the autopilot control set up on this helicopter as well, so as soon as we catch up to him here, we'll roll some of that collective off, and we'll turn the autopilot on. All right, so now that we have that set, we can turn off our landing lights, and let's go ahead and retract the bulb while we're at it. There we go. We're pretty much in position. So let's go to the outside view and take a look at these beautiful clouds around us, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about what Eagle Dynamics have done here. Okay, so you can see directly ahead, if I use the magic binoculars, that is Beirut International Airport there. Pretty cool looking airport, one of the most prominent ones on this map here. And we are lagging a little bit behind our guy there, so we'll need to catch up with him shortly. So let's take it off of autopilot. And we'll give it some more collective, so that way we're not dipping down too low, but we will increase some airspeed. And basically, we're going to head to downtown. Now, this is where I'm going to start talking about some of the shortfalls of 2.7. I don't know if you noticed when we were in the outside camera view, but in VR, the clouds do tend to jitter, and it's kind of hard to describe because you really won't notice it if you're just flying 2D. So if you're not a VR user, this really doesn't affect you. But in VR, if you're in an exterior camera, the clouds tend to jump up and down vertically because there's something not 100% synced up there. Not quite sure what's causing it, but Eagle Dynamics is aware of it, and it is on their list of things that they will need to address in, say, the next hotfix and so on. Now, the other thing that I have noticed in VR, if you take a look at the downtown area, you'll see there's not that many buildings there. It's taken a while to load in. Whereas, if I do that and use the magic binoculars, you can see all the buildings. So there's something to do with the LOD, or level of detail, that's a little bit off right now in VR. And again, this is very specific to VR. I have not noticed it in 2D, even though it's extremely rare that I even fly in 2D. All right, Springfield should be calling out that he's making the turn shortly.
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 2 at 400.
Okay, so there he goes. And we're going to turn to join him. All right, so welcome to Beirut Airport. We are going to be stopping back here on our way back because when we pick up Voodoo Squad on top of that mountain FARP, we're going to be dropping them off right there. In fact, you may see a little Huey that I put down there as a marker to tell us where we're going to need to drop them off. Now, continuing the theme of things that are currently an issue with 2.7, this first iteration, if you look at that tower over there, you'll see some kind of weird square-looking thing. Yeah, I have no idea what that is, but it's obviously a bug. Honestly, there's really not that much currently that is really wrong with this build of DCS. It actually fared rather well, and I do know that they've been struggling with this for at least the last 2 or 3 years. They've wanted to add these clouds and the lighting and everything in there, but for whatever reason, they were having issues with it, and they've had to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, to actually see if they can re-implement it properly. And for what they've done, I will give DCS some major props on it. They've actually been able to pull it off this time. The issues that they have are, relatively minor. I mean, VR, as far as the community goes, we're still in the minority. The majority of DCS users will not really notice too many issues, and as a matter of fact, their performance is probably going to go through the roof. I have heard rumors that some people are able to get upwards of 90 to 100 frames per second in 2D. Now, if they can manage to do the same thing for VR, that would be even better. But of course, it's not something that I expect to be an immediate overnight miracle. It will come when it comes, and I'm pretty sure that Eagle Dynamics is still looking into implementing Vulkan as part of the sim. So when that happens, I'm pretty sure that VR users are going to notice their performance go up, because at least that is what I have noticed with other sims, such as Aerofly FS2 and, of course, X-Plane 11. All right, so we are flying around downtown here. So let's go back to the outside view really quick, and we'll continue playing Follow the Leader with Wild Bill here. He's currently set to AGL, above ground level, so he's basically trying to stick to 300 feet above ground level, and of course the skyscrapers are messing with him, so it's going to make for a fun little ride there. But back to the outside we go. All right, so we've made our first turn, and we're going to continue following the coastline here until we get to a river somewhere over there. I indicated earlier that there is a mountain that you can just see the clouds right on top of. That's where our FARP is, so this is going to get interesting. When I first set up this little test mission, I actually had the cloud set a little too low, and let me tell you folks, as a helicopter pilot in DCS, clouds are no joke. Oh my god, it was so scary just trying to find the FARP. So I decided to raise the clouds up just a little bit so it'll be just foggy up there, but I should still be able to pull it off. But man, that was scary. Of course, if I were in the Tomcat, which I've already set up for the Verpal HOTAS, obviously that was the very first one that I did. That's a whole different ball game because, well, the Tomcat and clouds are just like a match made in heaven, really. And I'm sure all of the other fighter jets that I have will fare rather well when it comes to that. All right, I need to slow down a little bit here because we are passing up our buddies. So let's drop our collective. Go ahead, take the lead. You got point, buddy. And I'm half tempted to go under these cranes here for some shenanigans, but you know what? Nah, we'll save it for another video when we're using something like the Gazelle. But yeah, I don't feel like messing with this right now in the Huey. That's probably not going to end very well for me. All right, so continuing to play Follow the Leader here. Now,
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 4 at 500.
Okay, do your thing, buddy. Now, as far as upgrades to the scenery and so on, I haven't heard of every single scenery getting upgrades. I think they just benefit from the fact that we've got the new clouds and lighting. This particular scenery, however, we're approaching a hotel area that they have updated. They've actually added some new building textures and building objects and static objects and so on. So if you look directly ahead, you'll see some beach umbrellas and some new hotel structures that they've added to this map in particular. Now, this map is far from done. They still have yet to add Cyprus in, that's Cyprus. And of course, there's, I believe, a few other airports and so on that they want to add in. They did add quite a few.
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 5 at 400.
Including a new helicopter base in Lebanon. So we'll be checking that out as the time goes by and I create some more missions for this map. But yeah, this one is really starting to take a life of its own. And I gotta say, even though the Persian Gulf was my favorite map for the longest time, this one's starting to grow on me. This one is really starting to grow on me. So you can expect to see some more fun and shenanigans going on here in the Syria map. Still kind of waiting for that Marianas map though. Now that we've got those clouds, Eagle Dynamics, you wanna hook us up here? That would be really awesome if we could get that map now, especially since it's supposed to be free. All right, let's go back to the outside view. We're looking out for this river that we're going to be following to get to the mountains. But while we're waiting for that there, we are going to lower our airspeed just a touch here and put the autopilot back on. All right. Take it away, Wild Bill. Alright, so we're just passing the marina right now, and you can see some of the new building designs that I was telling you about. This actually looks pretty cool, especially in the contrast between the light and the shadow that this new lighting system has given it. We should be closing in on that river really soon, so I expect Wild Bill to shout out that he's going to take a right here. Let's get the autopilot off. There we
Springfield
go.
1, passing waypoint 7 at 600.
All right, that's what I was waiting for. And we are going to follow these little terraced trees here. This actually looks really good. I have to say, this is probably the most beautiful part of this map. Is this whole region with the little terracing on the hillsides there and so on. It's just so awesome looking. Really, really impressed with this. It's going to be fun to make helicopter missions here because there's like so many hidey holes here. It's pretty cool stuff. All right, so we're going to follow the river upstream. And then we're going to head to that ominous-looking mountain up ahead.
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 8 at 700.
All right, Springfield, are you going to call out every single waypoint here, or are you actually going to shut up for a moment? That would be awesome. I'm trying to talk to my audience here. I'm still going a little too fast, so...
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 9 at 700.
All right, let's make sure he goes under us. There he is. Okay. And here he comes again. All right, you know what? I'm going to take off our force trim. I'm going to want to do that anyways as we get close to where we need to land. But that will also allow me to be a little bit more precise in my movements. Even though the force trim is great for long sprints and so on and so forth, we really don't want to have it on if we're going to be doing a lot of maneuvering and whatnot. So oftentimes I'll just turn it off and fly it manually. All right, let's hop to the outside view one more time, and we will continue following Springfield as he makes his way up this river. Now, as we're making our way up this hill to get to the FARP, one thing I do want to point out with this particular vertical throttle that I'm using, the CM3 has those finger lifts as well as throttle detents that you can add for idle throttle, as well as like an afterburner gate. Now, of course, I have those in because since I fly the Tomcat, I kind of want to have the afterburner gate and so on. And the idle helps me as far as binding the whole engine start process. It works really cool. But as a fringe benefit that I've noticed being in helicopters, with this helicopter in particular, you'll see the exhaust temperature at the bottom there. You definitely don't want to get it into the red. Oftentimes that'll happen if you pull your collective all the way up. So the idle stop, or not the idle stop, but the afterburner detent actually physically stops the throttle from going any higher, which translates to my collective.
Passing waypoint 16 at 3000.
All right, thank you. Translates to my collective only going so high, which is perfect. So I have just enough power to be able to pull this helicopter up without having to worry about ever getting into the red zone with the EGT. And oh boy. Yeah, this is what I was telling you about these clouds here. I think we're going to dip down a little bit here, so that way we are not completely in whiteout here. Oh boy. I do like the lighting though. The fact that the sun's trying to peek through the clouds, that's pretty cool. All right. Okay, so that little notification, our voodoo guys should start moving. So let's go ahead and lose all the power here. Oh, and we need some pedal action. All right, right about there is good. And we'll drop it like it's hot. Okay, so Voodoo 2 is over by that helipad, so they should be boarding momentarily. Voodoo 1 you can see right there, and let's go ahead and open our doors. Okay, good deal. I probably should have put the landing lights on, but we're not going to worry too much about it. At least we got some sunshine. Voodoo 2 is already loaded, so they're heading out, and we are going to need our menu to pop up for Voodoo 1. Come on, boys. Time's a wasting here. Airborne troops, embark, embarking, Voodoo 1. Voodoo 1, you can start embarking. All right, guys, come on, get in. Get in. This is the part that always makes me nervous. But yeah, it looks like so far we've got 3 of 5. 4 of 5. Come on, buddy. Tail end Charlie here. All right, everybody's on board. We can close our doors. And I think I just opened this door. Okay, everything's locked up. Good. Now, we got to play catch up with Springfield. So a little bit of left pedal here. Collective up to that afterburner detent that I mentioned. And that should be just enough power for us to do some translational lift and get the heck out of here. That works. That works. All right. And the clouds are rolling in, so we need to get the heck out of here. So let's dip down a bit.
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 17 at 2,800.
Oh, he is way ahead of us. All right. Well, we need to hustle. But look at this. Little mountain village there with all these, what is this, apartment complexes, or maybe they're resorts, I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And you can see the dappled light or the mottled light all over with these cloud shadows. That is impressive, and that is worth the price of admission, so to speak, for DCS 2.7. That's what really makes this thing shine. Now, I've deliberately turned my gamma down a little bit. Normally your gamma is set to like 2.2 or something like that. I have mine set to 1.7, which I know is going to make the video a little bit darker, but I kind of did that for the dramatic effect, so you can see just how different it is when you're under the clouds and when you're out of the clouds. Personally, I think it looks incredible in VR, so I'm probably going to be keeping it like this, unless, of course, I'm doing a nighttime mission, in which case I will probably want to change that and make it a little bit different setting. But yeah, I just love this. As a matter of fact, let's go back to the outside view as we follow Springfield through the valley. Alright, so we are finally co-altitude with Springfield here, so I'm going to continue to bring us down a bit. But I'm probably going to need to adjust my force trim.
1, passing waypoint 20 at 1,500.
Alright, good deal, Springfield. And we'll keep coming down. Let's see, what are we at right now? It says we are 1030 above ground level, but we're actually 1,500 feet above sea level. It's not too shabby. Hey, look at that. There's another little village on top of a hill. Just so cool. There's so many places to explore on this map. Really can't wait to do some more missions here. I will finish up the Persian Gulf missions that I have. Obviously, it'll take me a little while. The next one on the agenda is, of course, the Huey mission that I have promised you all for almost a year now. Finally, with Troop Embark confirmed to be working, I hope. We'll find out when we drop off Voodoo at Beirut. I can finally finish that mission and put the video up on YouTube. So look for that to be more than likely the next DCS Huey video that you see.
Waypoint 21 at 1,200.
But I've got a couple other things coming as well. There's another Hornet mission for Persian Gulf coming up. And I believe there should be one more Tomcat mission, if I'm not too mistaken. But we'll see how we fare with that. And then I'll switch gears and start heading back to Syria here and working on missions there. Look at that. You can see our carrier group out there. Let me use the magic binoculars there so you can get a better look. That's pretty cool. That is really cool. Alright, so I have noticed some anomalies over the water, in particular the outline of buildings and aircraft and so on as reflected on the water. That's kind of weird.
Passing waypoint 22 at 1,200.
But of course Eagle Dynamics is aware and they will be fixing that. Don't ask me when, you know the answer. 2 more weeks. Alright, why did you slow down there, buddy? There we go. Pick up the pace, please. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, I do know that folks like Baltic Dragon and some of the other folks that have created campaigns for DCS World have already updated their campaigns to 2.7. So if you did purchase Raven 1, and I would recommend that you do, of course, you can rest assured that it is now updated for version 2.7. Now, I'm not so sure about a lot of the freeware mission and campaign makers. For example, a good online buddy of mine, Karsten Gersk, I can't even say his name anymore. Karsten, sorry, I'm butchering your name there, but he also makes some really cool helicopter missions that I would highly recommend you pick up. I told him that he should probably update his missions to 2.7 as well because they are worth flying. So be on the lookout for that. Him as well as multiple other mission creators are more than likely going to be updating their stuff in the next couple of days or weeks, as the case may be. As for myself, I'm still toying with the idea of putting these missions that you're seeing on YouTube eventually online on the DCS user downloads. It's just such a pain in the butt for me to come up with these missions, to video record them, and so on and so forth, that by the time I'm actually done making the video, I never want to see the mission again. But I will try to make an effort and put some of these missions up for you to try, as long as I know that everything works perfectly. My big thing is I don't want to have to update whenever there's a DCS 2.8 or DCS 2.9 down the road. That's a bit of a pain in the butt for me, considering my time is limited. Alright, we don't want to go too slow, but this guy's taking forever to get over this hill. Wild Bill, put it in gear, please. Thank you. Okay, so I know we're supposed to take a right over by that TV antenna directly ahead, so as soon as we get there, he should be heading towards the beach. And you can see off to the right, Beirut International. So as I mentioned earlier, that is our destination for Voodoo Squad. We're going to drop our boys off there, and then we're going to head back to our respective ships and call this mission done. So if you are still using DCS Stable, and you are very much interested in trying out 2.7, you will of course need to update to open beta. All DCS updates come to open beta first. That is standard DCS operating procedures. More than likely, if you're watching this video and you are not brand new to DCS, you probably already know this. But even if you've been playing for a while and you've only been playing on stable build, this is probably a good reason for you to come over to the open beta build just to kind of check out these clouds and whatnot. But remember, beta is beta. Bugs may happen. If you experience bugs, you're going to want to report the bugs. That's the only way that Eagle Dynamics is going to be able to get this fixed. But you're more than welcome to come join us on open beta. All right, this is our turn here. I have no idea where Springfield went. There he is. What are you doing up there, bud? Sheesh. All right, I'm going to make my turn.
Springfield 1, passing waypoint 24 at 2000.
Okay, well, here he comes now. And we'll just follow him. He should be going down to the hotels on the beach, which should be directly in front of us before we actually get to the airport itself. So let me get our force trim off. Since we're not in a cruise mode here, like I said, you really only use the force trim if you're, cruising, going in a straight line thereabouts. If you're getting close to the airport, it's probably a good idea to take your force trim off. All right, but we will let Mr. Wild Bill take the lead, and we'll head towards this hotel here. And I think for this run, I'm actually going to turn on our landing lights. So let's flip the switch there. And of course, we'll extend our landing lights. Gives me an opportunity to play with the Verpal HOTAS switches. I'm telling you, folks, I love this thing. I don't want to sound like an infomercial for Verpal, but believe the hype. Everything that they've said about this thing has been so worth it. If there's only one negative,
Waypoint 25 at 350.
if there's only one negative that I can find to tell you about the Verpal is the fact that even though there's a thumbstick on there, there is no way with the Verpal software to actually bind that thumbstick to your mouse movements. So if I wanted to move like the little cursor around that we typically have going here, let me put the autopilot on and I'll just kind of show you for emphasis. Okay, so you know the familiar blue cursor that turns green once you get over something that you can interact with. I can only use the mouse for that. I cannot use the Verpal thumbstick for that. So that is something that's an area of opportunity as far as I'm concerned for Verpal. And hopefully they will address that at some point in time, perhaps with firmware or maybe with the next iteration of the Verpal hardware. Either way, if that's the worst thing that I can find to complain about with this HOTAS set, I would say we're doing pretty good. Everything that I've seen about this thing has been positive, and it is definitely well worth it. Plus, I love the fact that you can change the color of the buttons too, because you know me, I gotta have my purple. All right, but enough yakking about Verpal. Let us bring ourselves in.
26 at 350.
All right, Springfield is on the way to land. He should be to the right of the Huey that's already there, right there. And we are going to be to the right of him. So we're going to pull the collective down. While I'm waiting to bleed off that airspeed, we'll open our doors. Okay, good deal. We really don't have to do that, but I'm kind of in the habit of doing that whenever I'm doing troop transport missions, just for that extra effect. We'll need to start using that thumb wheel rotary for my pedal. Let's go ahead and get that. We'll bring her down. Try not to get into a vortex ring state. Nice smooth fluid movements. And we'll get into ground effect hover. There we go. That's my little notification that we are in the zone. And let's drop her like she's hot. Right about here should be good. You can see Voodoo 2 has already disembarked. We'll go ahead and get Voodoo 1 out. So we want airborne troops. Disembark. Disembark. Voodoo 1. And there are our guys. Okay, our guys are out, so let's go ahead and get out of here. Alrighty, boys. Enjoy Beirut. I'm sure they're getting some R&R right now. And we'll close our doors. I think I just opened that one. That's the only thing that's a little bit sensitive on this thing here. There we go. Yeah, the doors, I have that set to a knob on the far left side of the leftmost throttle, and it's a little sensitive, so again, teething pains. Still getting used to this whole Virpil thing, so I'm sure I'll get it at some point in time. All right, but that is basically it. The last thing we need to do, of course, is going to be to land on our frigate. So let us point ourselves at least in the correct direction here. Right about there should be good. We're going at about 90 knots, so we'll put the autopilot back on. We'll get the radio on, and since we did already tune in the frequency for the Oliver Hazard Perry, we'll tell them we're inbound.
030, inbound. 030, fly heading 30146, QFE 29.93, runway 32, to pattern altitude.
301. Okay, we are left of that, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep it there because I kind of want to be behind the frigate, so that way I can just pull straight in. All right, so one more time, we will go to the outside view, check out the beautiful clouds, and then when we hop back in, we'll be ready to land. All right, so we are closing in on the frigate, and the far side frigate, of course, is where Wild Bill is going. So you can see he's going way back there to begin his approach. And we've also got an Arleigh Burke destroyer, as well as a Ticonderoga cruiser in the front. I don't feature those nearly as often. I know that
RTB at 400.
I know that the Arleigh Burke is relatively new as far as DCS goes. The Ticonderoga has been there just about as long as the Oliver Hazard Perry has. But I'll start featuring some more of that if we get into some more ship-based helicopter missions, shall we say. Alright, but we're getting ready to land, so let's go ahead and get the radio open. And we'll also get our autopilot off. Whoa! Next time, put your hands on the cyclic. I'm going to swing out this way here. And that is one thing I will definitely say about this setup is you can really get precise. Of course, it'll probably be better once I actually pick up the rudder pedals. From what I hear, they're supposed to get some in stock sometime relatively soon. So as soon as that happens, I will be sure to order them. Delivery is pretty good. There are some issues since they use FedEx. Sometimes you may get delays or your packages may arrive separately. All right, thank you. I will do that right now.
030, request landing.
And we'll bring her in. But yeah, I actually did receive the packages separately. Not quite sure why, because they left at the same exact time. They just ended up on 2 different planes, but thankfully they were only a few days apart from each other. I know some of you have had even bigger nightmares when it comes to delivery. That's probably the worst thing that I can say about Verpal right now and the way that they do things. Could use a little bit of improvement when it comes to shipping and so on. But everything was in good working order. It was tightly packed and everything, so I'm not going to complain about that at all. It survived the trip from Lithuania, which is all that really counts after all. But there we go. All right, let's get a little bit more collective going here. Now, you may have wondered why I contacted the ship. Well, little pro tip you may or may not know. Normally, the ship's railings are up. In order to get the railings to go down so that you can land a little bit easier, you contact the ship. As long as they clear you for landing, then the railings, as you can see in front of us, will go down. So a little tip from your Uncle Drew if you didn't already know that. And let's bring her down. Not too fast, not too fast. I think we need a little guy in that bubble off to my right there. Right about there is good. And we're down. A little crooked, but yeah, we need a little LSO guy or something in that bubble. That would be kind of cool. So Eagle Dynamics, if you ever plan on updating these ships, put somebody in there. That'd be cool. And also give us a hangar there. That'd also be awesome. But we are down. We are good. And that will just about do it for me. So let's go ahead and start powering everything down here. So that is it, folks. That is my thoughts on DCS World 2.7. And now that I have finally confirmed that they fixed Troop Embark, I can finally finish that Huey mission that I've been sitting on for a year. That'll be the next thing you see on DCS. After that, we'll probably get some Hornetry going and a little bit more Tomcattery before we come back here to Syria and start doing missions here. But for now, I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed my first look at DCS 2.7 in VR. And let's go ahead and power everything down here. All right. And if you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And of course, you can check out the various links that I will have in the video description for Verpal and the review that Sergio did and so on and so forth. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in DCS World 2.7, and I will catch you on the next one. So I hope you all have an excellent evening. I will talk to you all soon. Ciao.